and see if this works. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here. So several of you may not know the story, but I had the privilege of meeting these two amazing men, probably 2019, I believe, in London, England, at a John Maxwell event. And we got to spend a week together, and it was just the most amazing time. And I just adore both of them. So I know that he needs no introduction, especially in this room. Coach, you got a whole room full of fans here. But for those of you that don't know, he's currently the president of Youngstown State University. He was a coach for the Buckeyes. He's earned several national championships, Coach of the Year over 10 times, Ohio State Athletics Hall of Fame, and our friend, Coach Jim Tressel. So let's give him a welcome.
Thank you. I can see most of you there. It's a good-looking group.
We do have a really good-looking group. So, okay, I know we have a limited amount of time, and I sent you a couple questions, and if we can start with the first one. One of the things that I said is that if you know Coach, you love Coach, and you respect him so much, and that I just think that that is something that sometimes isn't easily accomplished. So I'd love to know, what is the one thing that has made you such a great leader? What are some of the key things that you've done in your career to really earn that respect and love?
Well, I've been blessed to be around a lot of great people, and who you surround yourself with really helps shape you. And I was blessed with great parents and great siblings and great teachers and pastors and friends. And I worked for a lot of good folks and tried to take what I admired from all of those. And one of the things I admired about many of those people was that it was very important to them to have other people feel valued, to have other people feel important, that every single person is very, very important. In fact, that's one of the great benefits, I think, from doing anything in a group setting, whether it's your group that's there together, or it's our football team, or Simon's business group, or the marching band, or whoever it happens to be, is that you come to the realization that that you individually are insignificant without every other person that's around you, without every other person that's on that team, in that band, in that company, in your office, and that you had, in my mind, to intentionally work hard to make sure that all of those people that you had the good fortune of being around knew how much you valued them, how important they were, regardless of what role they were playing. I wanted our guy that was fourth string and was maybe the last guy to get a uniform to feel as if he was as important as that superstar that everyone knew was in the news, and that he was just as important as the other person. And then that way in life, whether it was we were out at an Ohio State alumni event, or we were at a charity function or whatever, is that whoever we were with knew that we valued them, that we cared for them, that we thought that they were important. And I learned that through great mentors like my parents and my coaches and so forth, because having someone feel good about how you make them feel is, in my mind, what it's all about. And I always like to remind myself how fortunate that I was to be around whoever it was I was with, and that they had to know I was with them at that moment. You know, you've been around people that you're talking to them and they're looking around the room to see who else they can talk to, and that you don't feel as if you're really their focus. And, you know, I always want to make sure that whoever I'm in the room with, whoever I'm in discussion with, whoever I have a chance to be around knows that I want to be there with them, that I am there with them. And you know, that's something I think is really important.
Yeah, I love that. You're getting lots of head nods. You actually kind of walked right into the second one. We have a lot of people that lead other people in this room. We have a lot of leaders. We have a lot of people who lead teams and organizations and even lead their family. And so I'm wondering, what's the one thing that you have done that you found most effective in helping other people realize their highest potential?
You know, Simon, who you'll hear from in just a minute, and I talk a lot about really wanting to try to get to know what's important to the people we're working with. So often, supervisors or leaders, people that have a position of authority, focus on what it is they want that person to do, what it is the performance they want that person to have, as opposed to really trying to find out what is it that that person is interested in accomplishing. You know, where is it that I can help them get that they would like to go? What is it that they're trying to gain from this time we're spending together? And I think as soon as they know that you have a genuine care and concern about what's important to them, and it's not just about what's their sales quotient. That's important. Obviously, we wanted to win games. We wanted our guys to perform well, but that wasn't the most important thing that we wanted. And we wanted to make sure that they knew that that wasn't the most important thing. It was part of the deal. I mean, we wanted to be good. There's no doubt. And we didn't apologize for wanting to be the best. But what was most important was we wanted to help them do what it was that they wanted to accomplish. Simon's heard me say 9,000 times, and he probably gets bored, that one of my favorite reminders was a little quote that we kept on our office wall in our, whether it was the Youngstown State football office when we were here or the Ohio State football office, was that, you know, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you're fortunate to have moved into a position where you get to make some decisions, you get to lead some initiatives and so forth, you probably do have some competencies and do know, had some experiences, and you do know what the group needs, and you have good ideas and so forth. But the people that you're trying to serve, the people that you're trying to supervise or lead, the first thing they want to know before they know your infinite wisdom is they want to know, do you care about me? Do you care about me beyond how many touchdowns I score, or how many insurance policies I sell, or how many homes that I close, or any of those things? They want to know first, do you care about me? Do you care about my feelings? Do you care about my family? Do you care about my growth? Are you just looking at my bottom line, or are you looking at my trajectory? And so, you know, I've always felt that they needed to know that we were in this for all those reasons. Yes, we were going to evaluate how well they played, and we were going to give them playing time based upon how well they played. Just like Simon's people are going to get paid based upon what they sell. And your folks, if you close the house, you get something, I guess. And if you don't, you probably don't. But that's not the extent to what we want our experience together to be. We want them to know that we want to help them become all they want at work, at home, spiritually, physically. We care about how they feel. And I've always found that it's really important to make sure they know we care about all of them.
Yeah, great answer. I love that. The next question is actually a really important one. So I had the privilege of being with Gary Keller for 2 days last week in Austin, Texas, and he said one of the top 3 things that all business owners and entrepreneurs are feeling right now is burnout after the last 2 years. And I know several of you that I talked to have been feeling it too. So I would love to know really how you have pushed through burnout, or even how to avoid it when we get to the point where we're there.
Well, I'm sure Simon's laughing right now because I always remind him that it's exhausting to be great, and it is to be good at what you do. It is exhausting, but to your point, different scenarios create a different level of stress and burnout and those kinds of things. And what's an interesting thing that I think you have to keep an eye on, and I remember back in the recession of 2008 and 2009, looking at your audience, those people were probably in high school then, but or at least some of you. But I remember talking to some business owners there in Central Ohio, and they talked about in 08, 09, they had to reduce their workforce. They had to get a little bit leaner. They had to make some adjustments because there were some realities in their business. And they found that they were a little bit more efficient when they became leaner. But a couple years later, maybe 2 or 3 years later, what they then learned was that, you know, people stepped up when they got leaner and they put on a couple more hats and they rolled up their sleeves and they worked a little bit harder and they had more demands and all that. And there was an eventual fatigue that came from that. And that they had to be aware of that, that yes, there are moments when you're going to have to go above and beyond, you know, maybe what could ever be expected. But that can't last forever. And that you have to keep a good eye on your people. I always felt that with getting a team ready for a game. You know, how much do you practice? Well, we had to work hard. Well, how much is too much? When do we need to take a 15-minute shorter practice? When do we need to say, hey, you know what, let's take Friday off? Or, hey, I know we've got plenty to do. I know you feel like you've got a million deadlines, but I've got to get a sense of how my people are feeling. And that's in every business, there's science and data, and you know, you guys get inundated with data and reports and all those kinds of things, and that's critical. In this day and age, the utilization of data has become more and more important. But we always say, don't lose sight. There is part science and part art to everything. And the art of making sure that you're taking care of your people, giving them that moment when they need to be nudged to work harder. There's moments like that. There's also moments where you need to see that there is that burnout. You can just see, you can just tell in the body language. You can tell in some of the discussions you're having. You can tell when you're asking them questions. And we always talk about the fact that any conversation with someone you're trying to lead has got to be led with questions. It can't be just led with, hey, I've got this knowledge and I'm telling you this. It's got to be questions about, well, how are you feeling? What are your thoughts on this? What do you think we should do? Should we, you see the workforce, you see, what do you think we ought to do next week? Do you think we ought to do something a little bit different? Something to ease the realities of this burnout, or so I would say to you, I don't think there's a textbook on how to handle burnout. I think there's a part scientific manual that you know what you need to accomplish, but there's part art. And I used to always say that during game week, as old as I was or whatever, but if I felt pretty good, I just felt pretty good, I didn't feel stressed, I didn't feel burned out, then probably my team was feeling okay. But those moments on a Thursday or a Friday, and we're getting ready for a big game on Saturday, and I'm thinking, oh man, I feel worn out mentally, physically, emotionally. We've got to do something about that. Keeping the emotional tank full is more important than anything. And the art of doing that with your workforce, keeping their emotional tank full and not letting it ever get to empty, I think will serve you well.
Yeah, great answer. Love it. Okay, this room would kill me if I let you out of here without talking about something about your career. So last question is, what's been the highlight moment of your career or success as a coach? And just any moment that really stands out as your most memorable.
Well, I was told of the time constraints, and I'm 100 years old, so I've had a lot of moments. You don't have time for all those moments, but I will tell you this, that obviously I get asked that question all the time, and they say, well, what was your best team, or what was your biggest win, or what was the most exciting moment you had as a coach? And I have never allowed anyone to lead me down that trap, because the minute I say, well, it was the 2002 national championship game, then I've got every other team calling me on the phone saying, hey, I heard you on ESPN. I can't believe that you didn't say it was our team. And so you're not going to lead me down that trap. But I will tell you, because I imagine that this is world broadcast or whatever, but I will tell you that the greatest accomplishment or accomplishments that I truly believe that we've had is when we have those opportunities to see our former players, our former students go forward and do extraordinary things. That's what really, that's bigger than any game, because games come and go. You win some, you lose some. There's some months where you have a good month. There's some months where you don't. There's some record months. But when you see someone that you care deeply for and that you've poured your heart and soul into, and you see them take what they've gained from their time with you and then pay it forward, do something to make a difference wherever it is they've landed. There's nothing that's a warmer feeling than that. No victory, no trophy, no ring, no nothing.
Yeah, love that. Coach, that reminds me of what John Maxwell's taught us, which is he always says that people always ask him all the time, how do I get mentored by you? And he always says, you go and do what I tell you that to do, what we talk about in our conversations, because there's no greater reward for him than watching them go and actually do what he tells them to do. So very similar. I want to be respectful of your time, and I can't thank you enough for doing this. So let's give Coach a very good.
Well, you don't mind if I stay on the line and listen to Simon, because, you know, people pay lots of money to hear Simon, and so I want to get a free one.
That's right. I love it. Okay, Simon, I'm going to pull you up. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Are you there? Let's see. Add pin. How about that? There we go. Oh yeah, how do I do that? Okay. All right. Another thing we learned from John Maxwell is that he says when God really wants to bless you, he gives you a great friend. And Simon has been a great friend to me. So I want to let him tell you guys a little bit about himself, but I'll just start by saying he was born in Youngstown. He was a professional football player, athlete. He was the youngest, he's going to tell you what this means, the youngest SGA and IAL company history. He opened his first agency in 2008, and really the rest is history because he has built an incredible business. So thank you so much for being here. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Well, thank you, Miss Dana. First of all, you know, they always, you know, you'll hear people say, how am I supposed to follow that? It's like the thing to say, but really, how do you follow somebody like Jim Tressel? And I have to be the next person in line. This was a dream come true, you know, to me, to be able to have this man's mentorship and what Coach Jim Tressel has meant to me. I'm born and raised in Youngstown, Ohio, to a single mom, spent a lot of time as a kid on welfare, and our team that kind of, you know, as a kid, I didn't travel much. I didn't get to go anywhere. Like the highlight of my childhood was to go to a Youngstown State football game. That was our professional team. And when they were winning championships, it kind of really started to fuel a fire inside of me and made me think big for the first time in my life. And when I had an opportunity to meet Mr. Tressel, President Tressel, Coach Tressel, it was really a dream come true. Not too many more, you know, people that I wanted to be next to. And oftentimes, you know, when you meet people that are that big in your mind or celebrities, you know, you get disappointed, you know, it's if you build them up that much. And it was the complete opposite, just to have an opportunity to develop a relationship and be mentored by you. And now to be on the same screen as you is literally a dream. And this man is everything that you would hope or want him to be times 100. To say times 2 or 5 or 10 wouldn't do it justice. This man is one of the best people I've ever met walking the face of this earth. And if I could ever become half of the man that you are and this man is, if there's coaches out there that love on people like this and are this way, that's where I would want my kids to go, whether they were Division 4, 2, 5, 7, 1 national champs. It's just always an honor to be around Jim Tressel. So I just want to tell you, for all of you folks that, from Columbus that have rooted on the Buckeyes and saw the turnaround, after 30 years of not winning the national title, the quick turnaround to start winning them, and years of not beating Michigan to a quick turnaround to start beating them. It was no secret to me after I got to get close to Coach on why that was. And that's, after spending time with him, by the heart that he has, it's very difficult to not want to give your life to this man and for this man because of the type of person and human being that he is. So you all would be very proud to know that your coach that you love, is the real deal as a human being and as a person, and just treats the mailman as good as he would treat, the CEO of a multi-million dollar, billion-dollar company. And I've learned so much from you. So that's where I wanted to start. And Dana and Adam have similar, hearts and traits. And so we gravitated towards each other for the first time years ago in London, where we became friends and kept this relationship going on. So Dana, I just want to tell you it's an honor to be a part of your life and to share with your people. I know me and my business, I got 24 offices and 400 people, and I try to protect my people and treat them like they're my family. I don't expose them to just anybody. So I know you don't take this lightly for me to have the opportunity to speak to your team. So it's a true honor. And you all from Keller Williams should know Dana sticks out like a sore thumb, everywhere she goes, and is really a superstar in the eyes of a lot of people, that are big business leaders all across the country. So thanks for having me, Dana.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. I definitely do not take it lightly. Very honored to have you guys here and speak today. Simon, you've grown an incredible business, and I didn't feel I would do it justice. So will you share a little bit about your business, and then just share with us some of the key factors that have really led to your success? Because I just love watching you. And if you guys, I don't have this like on the screen, but we'll tell you how to go follow him on social media, because if you want to build a great business, you need to be following him by the end of the day today. He is fantastic. But Simon, share a little bit about your success and just some of those key factors.
Yeah, I came right out of college after playing football at Mercyhurst, Division II level, and got into American Income Life. I actually founded the office over there in Columbus. So I started out in sales, had no idea what I was doing. Coming, from Youngstown was my first job, and had a lot of success very quickly, more than I ever thought I would have in my entire life. I had in my first or second year. Went on after my second year to open up my first office like a franchise, just to make parallels to what you guys maybe would understand, which was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in March of 2008. And then started out with my mom and 3 people, and have just grown that, over the years. I can't believe I've been an owner now for over 13 years, and have a family of my own. I have 4 children, 1 adopted daughter, and 3 young kids, 6, 4, and 10 months. Happily married, 8 years to my wife Natalie, and just on the grind with you out here. I think the insurance business is very similar. There's a lot of similarities and parallels to the real estate industry, which I love. So, I think first off, any success that I've had has been because of the people that have come before me in our business and outside of our business, mentors, that I've had in my life that have pointed me in the right direction. I think the business has been successful because of great people. No matter how good the coach is, coach will tell you it's very difficult to play and win good games if you don't have some athletes on the field, if you don't have some some people that can play the game. So I've been blessed and fortunate to be surrounded by really, really good people and try to be a good steward, with those people. Anything that I would point to or take credit to is stuff that really doesn't take a lot of skill or natural God-given ability, which was just work ethic, putting in a lot of work up front, that dirty four-letter, word that people try to avoid, just really, it's exhausting to be great. So putting in a lot of work in making some sacrifices, being coachable, early on, and still to this day, I feel like I need coaches and mentors. I don't know it all. I'm not even close, but especially early on, I just didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I think something I would attribute quick success to was trying to be the best student to everybody that I wanted to emulate. It's really an open book test. You could find the best salespeople, the best leaders, and ask them the right questions. And if you implement, 100% of what they're telling you to do or as close to it, there's a good chance you're going to end up getting the exact same results. And I think in the process of grinding, sacrifice, and putting in time to yourself, pouring into growing yourself, burnout comes up and stuff like that. I think getting up early wasn't something that came natural to me, that in the beginning, I had to work towards, that has changed my life. It's provided me the ability to get more done and to beat the sun up and to stay ahead of the game and get a lot of stuff done and work on myself and still be able to be a father, still be able to be a husband, a mentor, and all those other things. So those are just a couple things that I would point to, Dana.
Hey, Simon, I know this, so I want you to share it with them, but will you share with them your morning routine? I know I didn't have that on your list, but what time do you get up and what do you do in the morning?
Yep. So 5 o'clock typically is 5:01 is the alarm clock, typical 90% of the time. I don't bat 100%. Some days I sleep in, some days I need to sleep in, but 5:01 is the typical. And I'm trying to take care of my mind, body, and spirit early in the morning. So I typically have books, audio books, podcasts, somewhere where I'm putting things into my mind to make sure that my mind is growing spiritually. I don't want to force, my faith on anybody, but I'm a person of faith, and so I read scripture almost every single morning, followed by prayer, typically Proverbs and Psalms, followed by some prayer, and then exercise, which for me is usually Brazilian jiu-jitsu or weights. Weight training, but I try to get that all done really early in the morning so my day is ready so I can serve other people by 8 a.m. when the kickoff starts.
So I get up and do my devotion too, but not quite as early as you. And every time I get on Instagram to share it, I'm like, dang it, he's already got it on there. So one of my new goals is going to beat you one day. Okay, let's talk about teams, because I see how you love and pour into your teams. I mean, you guys, I don't know anybody that treats their teams better than you do. What do you think makes a great team? And then how do you build influence, trust, and productivity inside of your teams?
I think what makes a great team is people learning to care about each other. One unit going towards a common goal. You have a bunch of individuals that need to, that want to and need to accomplish things individually. How do you get those to play as close to one as you possibly can, like a sports team in business? And I think that camaraderie starts at the top, from knowing, how to care about people. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Spending time with them. It's difficult to have a relationship with people that you don't, spend time with. And so I think making a point to spend time with people and pouring time into them. I think a great team is good at the fundamentals. So, anytime, you start to get focused on all the sexy stuff and you get away from the fundamentals, typically that's where losses creep in. If you find yourself, at one time you were at a high and having success and things fall off, whether it's business or personal, maybe go back to the fundamentals. So I think a great team is really made up of people that focus, doing very well at the fundamentals. I think spending time, building camaraderie intentionally, together, and then getting everybody focused on one common mission goal together, even though that we're all individuals and have to do things. But really, when everybody on the team and in the unit ends up winning, typically you'll see more success out of those individuals, more first round draft picks when your team wins a national title, more first team all state folks when your team wins a state championship, or or something like that. So when the whole unit does better, the individuals end up doing better, if you could frame that culture. I think building trust and all that stuff with people starts with focusing on what's in it for them. If you focus on, for those of you in leadership, really the job can get really simple. It's cliche, but if you could discipline yourself to focus on what do your people really want? Like, when's the last time you asked them, what do they want? Do you know what your people want? Because when you get people what they want, you get everything that you want and then some. You've heard that before. So it really makes our job really easy in leadership, is to, like, how do I just serve this person and help them get what they want? And then making sure that while you have to have some form of authority in leadership, that people aren't fearful to tell you what you need to know and what you need to hear, and that you can handle it, that you can be coachable. In order to influence others, you yourself need to be able to be influenced by people. And so that's WAYT, that I learned from Coach. What are you thinking? Knowing what your people are thinking, wanting to know what your people are thinking, because either way they're thinking it. So if you don't know what they're thinking because they're scared to tell you, they're still thinking it. If we know what they're thinking, we have a fighting chance. And so putting them in a position where they understand feedback or telling me something that I need to know is not going to be something that I'm going to rip their head off about, but always trying to find out a way to know what our people are thinking so I can allow them to influence me, or that maybe I can change their perspective a tad, but I wouldn't be able to do that if I don't understand what it is that they're thinking. Putting time into people, we mentioned talking about people have to know that you care, genuinely making sure that you're caring with those people, recognizing people, salespeople, real estate folks typically are going to be motivated by money, recognition, or time off. And so the money kind of comes with the sales. So I know for me, I was always the person on myself, and as a captain in high school and colleges, whether we won or lost, I'm going back to the film and I'm trying to see what can I do to improve. If I had a good year in business, what can I do to improve? If we had a good month, it's usually never as good as I want it to be. What can I do to improve? In my leadership style, I learned over time that I needed to get better at recognizing people and celebrating the victories, as much as I pointed to the failures and the losses, because I wanted to get better and I wanted people to get better so much. So I think learning to recognize your people and making it a focus, if you're not strong at it like I wasn't, that's done wonders, for me in leadership, is being able to focus my attention, to pay attention to when I can catch people doing something right, to build them up and let them know that I'm observing that. I think earns their trust, and being truthful, being real with people, and all the things that about integrity and stuff is typically what builds trust on the team.
The thing I love about that is you can do that with your kids, you can do that with your family, you can do that with people you're in business with. I mean, you can catch people doing right if you just you're intentional about it. So I love that you said that. Okay, Simon, I know I've just got a couple more minutes, so I'm gonna be respectful of your time, Simon, also. And we were just in Nashville together at a John Maxwell event, and I had a little bit of a come apart with Simon. I'm like, okay, I need your advice because everybody's burning out. I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I said, it's like, there's a whole new wave of competition, and people, they lie to our people, and there's all these other things and all this. And I said, I know that you've dealt with this. How have you dealt with that? And how do you deal with burnout when people are just down, and just getting everybody kind of lifted back up? So I'd love for you to touch on that too, because you had some great things you shared with me.
Yeah. So the first one is, the grass is typically greener where you water it. The folks that are always looking for you know, the next best thing, the next best contract, you know, whatever. Usually it doesn't end up, you know, super successful. What really works is loyalty and following the right person over time with the right heart. And I'm not saying that because that's something you would maybe want me to say, Dana. It's probably something you wish that I wouldn't talk about right now, but I don't mind getting uncomfortable a little bit because I think it's what really needs to happen because I've watched this. So I look at the business world very similar to the way I view my wife or my marriage, you know, that I'm committed to that person, not for only what I can get, but for what I can give. And if she puts on weight or has a baby or, you know, whatever, that's who I'm rolling with for the long haul, for the long term, no matter who's flirting or who has a better this or a better that or whatever. I think loyalty, you know, royalties come after long years of loyalty, and it's loyalty is tested in the dip, not in the highs. It's tested in the lows. And when you look at the people, you know, that really end up having happiness and success, they endure the long-term, you know, process. And it's usually not the person that, you know, hops all over the place, but to get to the thing of burnout, you know, I think it's a marathon for greatness, not a sprint. And you have to know what your pace is. What is your marathon pace? How fast can you run? Because it's about consistency. You know, the test of greatness and the hallmark of excellence is consistency. Not can you do good for a month, not can you do good for a quarter, really not even if you could do good for a year. It's can you do good for a career? Can you do good for 10 years? Can you do well for 5 years? That's how you really separate yourself. And so you avoid burnout by not getting into a 10-mile race and thinking that I got to sprint this first mile, you know, until I can't even walk anymore to finish the next 9 miles. That we're in this for the long haul. And so figure out what your marathon pace is. I know at times you can't do it. Sometimes it calls for a serious grind, but maybe keeping one day sacred where you can recover, having a recovery day, just like an athlete. I think rest and recovery is important in order to play at peak performance. And I remember picking somebody's brain. I'm in jiu-jitsu. I've been training Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a long time. And I asked a friend of mine that was older, you know, how he's still playing and competing and fighting at that level. And he said he just focuses on his recovery as much as he's focusing on the output and the intensity of the training. And so just maybe giving yourself a day of recovery, and then how you view failure. Sometimes, you know, a lot of times burnout just starts in your mind. It's your mental, it's your perspective, it's your attitude, how you're looking at things, how you view things, how you're speaking of things. And a lot of times you have burnout after failure. It's not burnout after you're crushing it every month. It's after you've had a loss. And so it's really, how are you viewing failure? You know, I think it was Winston Churchill that said, you know, success is going from failure to failure without losing motivation. I think we burn out really is just losing motivation. And it's short term, having a bump in the road and allowing that to start to build up into, we lost one game, now we lost 7 games in a row because we're hanging our head. And so failure is a part of the game. Everybody loses. Coach lost, I lose, you lose. The greatest, you know, part of the game is you're going to have to fail your way forward in order to get to where you want to be. But you can't allow yourself to lose motivation in the process. It's exactly what you need typically. You know, I think we were just with Mr. Maxwell, and he was saying, what does this make possible? Anytime there's a obstacle or a bump in the road, his mind has learned to just go to, what does this make possible? Usually it makes something possible. And then keeping your vision crystal clear. If your mission is right and your vision is right, while you're doing it, you remember why you're doing what you're doing. Like, my wife is up with our newborn and does things amazing throughout the day and throughout the week as a mom. And I look at her and I'm thinking, like, how do you do this stuff with a smile on your face and sleep deprived and seem like you just love every part of it? You know, like, I come in like this, like dreading, you know, winning the losing diaper, you know, when it's like, man, I picked the loser, you know, this time. She like just does it all with joy. And it's like her mission, your mission and vision. If your vision of why you're doing what you're doing is clear and you could keep that crystal clear, it'll protect you from the burnout. Typically, when you start burning out, you forgot why you started, why you were doing what you were doing. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks for the opportunity, Dana.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Let's show them some love. I appreciate both of you so much. Thank you for your time. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.